In this video, we're going to learn how to take fractions and turn them into decimals. So to turn this into a decimal, we'll take the number at the bottom, we'll take the denominator, and we'll divide it by the numerator, that number at the top. But we can't take 4 into 3. So what we end up having to do is we know that there's a decimal place here, right? We know that this is 3. We can add a 0 at it because it's still 3. It just now has a 0. So now what we can do is we can actually figure out how many times does 4 go into 30. We know that that's going to be 7 times. So 7 times 4 will be 28. So now we can subtract this out. 28 goes into 30. There'll be a remainder of 2. So now we can do the same thing. We can add a 0, right? This still changes that same number of 3, which we have here. So now we have an extra 0, and we have a 2 right here, and we'll bring down this 0. So how many times is 4 going to 20? And the answer is 5 times. So 3 over 4 is the same thing as 0.75. Doing the same thing, we'll take the number at the bottom, we'll take that 8, and we'll divide it by 1, which is the number at the top, the numerator. What we're going to end up doing is we'll put a decimal here, and we have a 0. That 1 still is 1, it just now has a decimal. So we can put a decimal up here. So how many times does 1 go into this whole number, which is 10? It goes in 1 time. Okay, 1 times 8, that's going to be 8. Now we subtract that, and we get 2. We add another 0 here, and we take that 0 and we drop it down. So now how many times does 8 go into 20? And the answer is going to be 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. We can do the same thing because we still have a remainder left over of 4. So we'll take that 0, we'll drop it down. Now we have 40. Okay, 40 goes into 8 5 times. Okay, now we have 40. We subtract that out. We have 0 as a remainder. So our answer is going to be 0.125. Now it's the same process if we have multiple digits on the bottom. So we'll still go ahead. We're going to take 16. We'll put it on the outside, and we'll put 7 inside. Okay, now we're going to put that decimal point again, and we'll put a 0 here. So now, how many times does 16 go into 70? And the answer will be 4. So we can multiply this out. That's going to be a 4 here. A 2 goes here. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 2 is 6. If we subtract that out, that's going to be a 6. We'll take another 0, and we'll drop it down. So how many times now does 16 go into 60? And the answer is going to be 3 times. Okay, we can multiply this out. 3 times 6 will be 8. We have a 1 here now. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1. That's going to be 4. We can subtract that out. Now we get 12. We take another 0. We're going to put that down here. So how many times does 16 go into 120? The answer is going to be 7. So we can multiply this out. So 7 times 6 is going to be 42. So we put a 2 here, put a 4 here. 7 is going to be 7. Plus 4 is going to be 11. So now we subtract this out. We're going to have 8. We can take another 0. We're going to take that 0, drop it down. How many times does 16 go into 80? And that is going to be 5 times. 5 times 16 is 80. So we have a remainder of 0. And once we get to the remainder of 0, that's going to be it for us. So now the answer is going to be 0.4375. Okay, now let's take a look at another example. Again, we're going to put 20 on the outside. I'll put 7 on the inside. Okay, we can't divide 7 into 20, so again, we're going to have to put a decimal place. We're going to put a 0 here. How many times does 20 go into 70? That's going to be 3 times, so 3 times 20 is going to be 60. We subtract that, now we get a 1, a 0, and again, we have to take another 0, and we're going to drop it down. So now how many times does 100 go into 20? And that is going to be 5 times. That's going to be 100. If we subtract, now we have no remainder. So our answer is going to be 0.35. Now let's take a look at a special case. So if we have 1 over 3, we put the 3 on the outside, and we're going to divide by 1. Again, we have to put that decimal here. We'll put a 0 here. And how many times does 3 go into 10? That's going to be 3. 3 times 3 is 9. We subtract, and we get 1. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to bring down that 0. And again, we have 10. But we just had 10. Okay, well, let's do the same thing. We're going to take a 3. 3 times 3 is going to be 9. Well, look, if we do that, we get 1 again. And then we get 10. Well, we're going to just keep doing this on and on forever if we keep going. So there's a special trick that we do whenever we have this case. And what we'll end up doing is that this is just a repeating value. There's going to be a million threes. It will never end. It'll just keep going 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So what we do for the answer, whenever we get to this place where there's always a remainder and it's always the same repetition of values, is we'll just put 3, 3, and we'll do a bar at the top. Or we could just do a single point, just do a bar. That bar represents that that number is going to be a repeating value. And let's take a look at this special case. So again, we're going to put the denominator value on the front, and inside we'll put the 8. We're going to put a decimal in front. So how many times does 80 go into 15? And the answer is going to be 5 times. We get 75, so we subtract that out. We're going to get a 5. Put a 0 here, bring this down. Now how many times does 50 go into 15? And the answer is going to be 3. Okay, we multiply that out. That's going to be 45. And if we simplify that, we get 5 again. Okay, so we just got that same value. So guess what? It's going to do the same thing. We have a 3 here, subtract it out. We're going to get 5. So we know that this is going to be a repeating 3. So what we'll end up doing for our answer here is we're just going to put 5, 3 with a repeating 3 on it.